I connect people with their inner child. And it might not seem like connecting with your inner child is going to open your third eye, but it really does. And here's why. When you connect with your inner child and make sure they're on board and they want to be a part of your psychic activation and they feel welcomed and invited into the space to have a say on, okay, we're going to be a psychic medium now. How do you feel about this? What's coming up for you?
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I'm the Manifestation Mentor. Today on the show, we have Candice Rebollo, the Master Breathwork Detox teacher and psychic medium. Welcome to the show, Candice. How are you doing?
So happy to be here, Carolina. That's how I would say your name. Is it Carolina or Carolina?
Carolina, yes, like in Polish,
Carolina.
like in Spanish.
It is. It's very much like a Latin name. So happy to be here. I love your energy. I love your presence. I love what you're doing with your platform. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to talk to you as well, because psychic mediumship and all these things so mystical and so interesting. And so I would love to start with this topic that I felt like I really want to ask you, because you're an expert on it, obviously because you're a psychic, how to open our third eye chakra, because I know that this is a gateway to our soul and to our intuition and to receiving messages, downloading information from the ether or from the universe, from God, or whatever you want to call it. And so I would love to start with your perspective on it, maybe some practices, maybe some tips for people who are still curious about how to open your third eye.
Yeah, there are so many little practices that you can do to help start to awaken it. I'll go from the more let's say mundane to the deeper and everlasting work. You can do things like when you're meditating, look up at the center of your brain, imagining that, and really focusing on positive visions for your life and where you want to see your life going. That it's like strengthening the muscle of the pineal gland, right? The third eye is the pineal gland. It lives right in the center of the brain. And it's our all-knowingness, literally it's our third eye, and it has access to see the higher dimensions and sometimes the lower ones and how to navigate within them, right? So when you strengthen your third eye, you're able to see better and navigate your life more clearly. So there are things like that. Breath work really helps with that. As well as different somatic therapies and work that I do to walk people through really releasing their trauma, which is that's the harder work, and that's the more everlasting work to opening your third eye, which is really, if you want to open your third eye thoroughly, you have to unpack all your dark stuff, all your trauma, all the stuff from your past, and really be able to do the shadow work and hold space for yourself to do those things. But this is where a lot of people get caught up. Everyone wants a fast tip, a fast trick. And it's if you want it done thoroughly, it's a lifetime commitment. It's a learning process, and you're never done in that learning process. So it's this healing, this expanding. It's like the blossoming of a rose or a lotus, It takes time, and it has its own time. And that's something I want to note too. Most people don't know this, but opening chakras, and especially the third eye, there is a timing that your soul has already mapped out to awaken certain chakras within your lifetime. And sometimes when we rush those, we will skip the very important lessons that our soul signed up to do. So that's why I prefer the very slow and thorough way to awakening your third eye, because it makes sure that you don't skip the really important lessons, that you don't leave anything undone or unwrapped, because really healing our trauma, it's a bunch of wrapped gifts, if you can understand it. It doesn't always feel that way when you're doing the work, but
pretty much never.
Exactly. It feels like crap. You're going to feel like crap. Let's just say it. There's going to be waves though, and when you get through it though, when you get to the other side, there's bliss, there's awareness, there's awakening, and then you're never the same. And I think that's the beauty of this opening your third eye stuff. You yourself won't be the same. So don't expect yourself to. And and then so I offer numerous tools to work through that process of healing your trauma and opening your third eye at the same time. It's my favorite thing.
That's amazing. And also about what you said that everything has its timing. And I feel like sometimes when we open it not in the right moment, we can gain access to information that we're actually not prepared to take in. Because
Yes.
when we are opening our vessel, let's say, to receive information, like for some people it might be so mind fucking that
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
will not just not make sense of it all. And I feel like there's so many people that actually like opened their third eye in some way, and then they were put in a psychiatric hospital because maybe they didn't have anyone to talk with. Actually, I met one person like this. He had some kind of experience, I think maybe on some plant medicine, or maybe just on even like weed or something like that. And then he was seeing his other lives, and he was a shaman, he was doing all this stuff, and then no one
Yeah.
around him understood him, and they put him in a psychiatric hospital. And
Yep.
then it actually made it way worse because he was labeled crazy, right?
Yes.
And then he
Yeah.
was not even, he didn't have a chance to explore this ability, because I perceive it as ability, as open potential of what we are here to experience and what access we can get to information that is out there in the universe. But if it's not in the right moment or in the right set and settings or with the right people, it can actually be more
Yes.
harmful than good for us. So I think that's so correct, as you say. Everything has its own time and
Yep.
space, and let's not push anything, because maybe in this time we would not be able to take the information that we are receiving, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so like, it's so amazing that you're touching on that, because I've seen it happen too, where people go through somewhat of like schizophrenic episodes once they do start awakening and once they do start seeing, because once you start seeing, like your soul, you have to have grit and tenacity, and you have to have somewhat of a thick skin to what you're seeing, because you'll see interdimensional stuff. You could see dark stuff. You could see light stuff. You could see all your timelines braiding into your consciousness right now. And it can be really overwhelming. Like, how do you handle that? That's what I'm saying. It takes time. You want to really heal your trauma and have a certain level of detachment from what you're seeing, knowing that, yeah, that was my past life, but I have a life right now that I need to live. I just need to get the lessons, integrate it, keep moving forward. And sometimes we start seeing things, we start seeing past lives, and we start attaching like our ego wounds to it. And like, oh my God, this means this man is my husband, or that means I am this all powerful seeing shaman. But it's like, no, you're here right now in this lifetime. You're supposed to gain the lessons, and you can reactivate gifts, but you have to be so centered in yourself. And right now on earth, like it's calling everyone into mastery. And we go through waves. Like some people are having a great time. Some of us are struggling. Some of us are in between. Some of us are oscillating, all the time between that stuff. And timing is literally everything. Like people really need to like be slow and easy with yourself in the awakening process.
Absolutely. And to just add to what you just said, I feel like when we work on the trauma, for me, massive opening for my intuition was to work with self-trust. Because I feel like if you receive messages, you cannot have questioning and doubts and hesitation about what you're receiving
Yes.
and receive clear messages at the same time. So for
Yes.
me, working on self-doubts, lack of self-trust and things like that, and also fear of seeing interdimensional stuff, was the biggest opening. Because I feel like in the past, people have experiences where they see some crazy shit and they're like, oh my God, I never want to experience this again. And even for me, like once I was like, oh, it would be so cool to hear other dimensions. And then I've heard someone speaking to me from the other dimension. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry, universe. That was a joke. I don't ever want to hear this again. That was creepy. I was in sleep paralysis and it was super creepy. And I don't even want to do this anymore. And I closed myself off to it. Right. So I feel like sometimes it's actually not serving us to do this, or maybe not in this time, right? And since then I didn't really hear anything, because I decided with my free will that I don't want to hear this shit anymore. And I feel like it's the same with seeing or with receiving messages. It's like if you're scared of it, or if you feel like you close off, like you have free will, so you can close off from all these other aspects of ourselves, right? From our higher self, from other dimensions, our angels, whatever, astral plane, and so on. But it could be our decision on an unconscious level, where we saw something as a child, because children have all the abilities open, and then something was just creepy or scary, and we were like, nope, we're not seeing this anymore. And then it was also trauma, right? So as you said, trauma work is so important. I do trauma work myself, with myself and my clients. So I feel like it's a fundamental, like it's the foundation of everything, every other spiritual work that you do, really.
It is. It is so foundational, and it's why I do it in the many levels that I do. Like my psychic mediumship course, It's not just, ooh, we're going to teach you psychic abilities. We're drudging through your shit, okay? While I'm teaching you how to open your third eye at the same time, because I would be doing a disservice to you to just open your third eye and say, okay, that's it. Because as a psychic medium, all of us as healers, we have a responsibility to work on ourselves continually, and then we can serve others because we're able to hold space for ourselves. If you can't hold space for yourself, you're not going to be able to do that well for other people. And your point too, which brought up something really cool for me about like shutting down your third eye. I see this happen so much where people don't want, and you said it so beautifully, like with my free will. With your free will, you can initiate anything, and you can also de-initiate anything that you want. You are in ultimate control of your life. Like, you have no idea how in control you are. And when I work with a lot of psychic mediums, one of the things that I have to do too is I have to go in and clear their ancestral lineage from closing the third eye. Because now the psychic medium is like, no, now I want it open. And when we look at the block, it's usually a generational block where someone within the family system had a gift and they were like, oh no, we are shutting this down now because of a scary experience, something they didn't like, whatever the case might be. So then I have to heal that part of the lineage and that event in their family timeline where it was shut down. Sometimes it's religious dogma. Sometimes it's a very fear-based experience they had. Sometimes it's that it was shut down because the women become too powerful. And so sometimes the patriarchal views, right, that we've lived in for thousands of years, that shuts it down too. So I have to go in like a little detective and like, okay, well, why? Who shut this down and why? And then we have to heal that story for them to be able to step into their third eye activation and reclaiming themselves as a psychic medium. It takes time and releasing of trauma again.
Absolutely. And are there any more practices that you are willing to share with people who listen on how to open the third eye?
Yeah, I think my most favorite and potent tool is one of my courses called Ancestral Alignments. There are beginner steps to get there, right? That's like an advanced version. The Ancestral Alignments really is my most advanced course. It is the most powerful thing I've ever put together. It is like when people take this course, when women take this course, they never are the same, and they have the most beautiful tool to take to their clients that makes them great money. So the results are amazing, like they're compounding, the healing they get, the healing they can then provide for others. It's just really profound because you can really get out of your way and have a representative show you what's going on in your family lineage while you literally get to sit back and witness. So that's one of the most advanced ways. And then like things that I offer in my beginner psychic mediumship, there's tips and tricks that I can share there too. And it's very foundational. One of the first things that I do in my psychic mediumship course is I connect people with their inner child. And it might not seem like connecting with connecting with your inner child is going to open your third eye, but it really does. And here's why. When you connect with your inner child and make sure they're on board and they want to be a part of your psychic activation and they feel welcomed and invited into the space to have a say on, okay, we're going to be a psychic medium now. How do you feel about this? What's coming up for you? And at the same time, addressing the wounds that they experienced at the age they're coming to you is really important because it can reset your entire nervous system to welcome in something new, which for many of us, opening the third eye, we're welcoming something new. So when you welcome that, you also want to touch base with the different parts of yourself. Higher self is included, but again, I'm just saying that the first thing I do in my psychic mediumship course, which most people don't think about or wouldn't expect, is I connect you to your inner child first, before we go to higher self, before we meet your gatekeepers, and before we meet your spirit guides. We touch base with your inner child and see what's going on there. Because if there is spaces where your inner child is not feeling heard, seen, understood, there's lacking expression there, you're going to have a harder time manifesting. You're going to have a harder time opening your third eye. You're going to have a harder time seeing what you need to see, because the moment you start seeing, guys, this is for all the listeners, for us, the moment you start to be able to see, one of the first things you're going to see is all the things that are unhealed in yourself and others. And you have to be ready for that, meaning you have to have done some foundational work. So that's why the inner child is actually, if you want to start tapping into your intuition, connect with your inner child in meditations. And you can do that by Googling it. There's tons on YouTube. Like there is a plethora of inner child meditations and ways to connect with your inner child and journal with them. And that's really, really, really where you would want to start.
Amazing. I love that. I absolutely love that. And that also brings up something that I want to say, that for some techniques to open your intuition is also connecting to your inner baby, like literally when you were born, because I feel like when you tap into this consciousness when you're born and you're literally like a baby in the crib, you don't have all these preconceived ideas of how the world works or whatever. So when you can tap into this consciousness, just a newborn baby that is there just experiencing. William Whitecloud talks about it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He has this book, The Secrets of Natural Success, and in his course, Create Your Destiny, he calls it a state of innocence, which is in no sense, where you don't really make sense of anything, where you just are receptive to the information that comes to you without sense, without mental body, right? Without thinking about it, without intellectualizing everything. And in his meditation, he specifically like runs it in a specific way where you come to the baby in the crib and then you're experiencing everything in this innocence state, and then you can from this state receive information. And I feel like, and also other people talk about it, when you go into channel your inner baby, you can go into the state where your intuition is way more open, because it's kind of like you're tapping into the timeline where you're there, because time doesn't really exist. So in here and now you're a baby, and then you just receive all things around you as they are and all the information without trying to like intellectualize it and make sense out of it, right? So you open up and then you can ask a question, you can see a vision, you can receive some kind of symbol, message, sound or whatever, and then you just interpret it, you just make it up, you just create the meaning behind it. Because I believe every sign that we get as a psychic, right, as a medium or whatever, or just intuitive downloads, is a message for us to interpret. I don't know how to say it.
Interpret. You said it. You said it perfectly.
Exactly. So when we, for example, when we see a symbol of a horse, it might mean something else for me and it might mean something else for you. So then there is a reason why to me it shows up as a horse. So I need to make up the meaning of what this means, because I was the one who received the message. If it was meant for you, maybe you would receive it in a different way. So I really am big on how William also teaches, is like, just make it up, just create the meaning for yourself. Like, what do you receive from this symbol, from this message? And then just say it without thinking about it, just let it flow. And then, you know, most of the time it's going to be super on point. And if it's not, you probably had some doubts or hesitation or lack of trust towards yourself to actually come with the message. So I'm curious about your perspective on what I just said.
Oh my gosh, you're making so many things click for me. It's crazy. So there's a process that I do called inner dance. You would actually love it because you're so musically inclined. It is this process of piecing together, creating playlists that have specific frequency and hit your brain waves at a specific pocket, let's say. And these playlists are about an hour long. And like with breathwork, that brings breakthrough. With inner dance, this brings like complete reset and transformation, because all you do is put your eye mask on, put your earphones on, play this playlist, set an intention, and then you journey. I have gotten so many insights, so much wisdom, so much breakthrough from these sessions. And I do it with all of my clients. I do it within every single course that I offer. I have a day where I do this because it provides the most profound integration like nothing else I've done. And it's sound and it's frequency. And the reason I bring it up is because I and so many of my clients and students have experienced this space within inner dance. And it's usually the first few sessions that you ever do inner dance to begin with. Everybody goes back to like the primordial beginning womb. Like everyone goes back to being a baby in the womb when you're in mom and it's dark and there's nothingness, but there's wholeness. Everyone goes back there for that ultimate like reset. So when you're talking about the baby, the infant, right? It's like going back in your timeline to like when it all started, literally conception and then the baking in the womb, that's where this beautiful reset happens. And it's like you're connected to everything and nothing at the same time. And there's just like it's like you're swimming in space. And there's something really potent about going back there. You know, the womb is such a sacred space, and there's reasons for it. It's not just because it's where we grew, it's where the consciousness was allowed to come in from whatever pure space that it was. And sometimes not pure, right? Like sometimes the reincarnation loop can be really heavy and the karma can be really heavy, what people come with in this lifetime. But in general, like when you're back in the womb, you're back in your nothingness. You're back in like you just hit the reset button. And now it's like you got to give your consciousness the time and space to go back there, because we get bombarded with stuff all day. Media, news, people's stuff, you know, our grandmother passing away, our parent getting sick, our this, our breakup, our whatever. And you have to literally detach and reset and become, let's say, whole again, and then come back out in the world for more. Because like life is hard. And I always say this, like none of us are getting out of life alive. Like it's going to be a bitch for all of us. We're all not making it out of here. So it's like, we really have to give it our all and leave our best on planet Earth. But in being able to do that, we need to give ourselves multiple times to rebirth ourselves. And that womb, going back to that womb is so important. And then you said something at the end that made me think of something else as well. Do you remember what you last said? What were you talking about last?
I don't know, just in such a flow that I barely remember anything I say, you know what I mean? I said about innocence, I said about intuition, I said about not making sense of anything and just allowing our mental body to go away and just
reading. That's what I was going to say.
Making up our own story. Yeah,
that's what it is. Okay, so when I train my psychic mediums, they're like, well, how do I know if I'm just like making it up or if I'm actually receiving it? I tell them, make it up. Make it up. Like the way you actually strengthen your intuition, receive the vision and download. It might feel like you're making it up, and allow yourself to do that, because that's how the gift actually starts. Your imagination and your intuition, they have the same pathways. It's like the same highway. And so you have to give it its fullest expression, you know, like really just go there. Like, what if that was true? Like, what if that storyline that you're being shown, what if that was true? What if you took it and you ran with it a little bit? That's how you strengthen intuition. That's why music and the arts and creativity is so important for intuition too. And that's why I know you're like very musically gifted and talented and you do things. And that's how I know you're intuitive too, because when you just allow yourself to play and just to go there and just explore and create, imagine, that's somebody who's really tapped into their intuition and really trusts themselves, you know, even if you aren't perfect, right? Even if it feels like, oh, well, what if I say this and it's incorrect and I don't get it right? Then I'm going to be a failure. Every psychic medium thinks when I'm training them, oh, I'm going to be the one who can't do it right. And that's ego. Your ego will say you can't do it. You think that's like it's kind of your inner critic too, but your ego is the one who says, I'll be the one who does it the worst. I'll be the one who can never figure it out. But it's like, no, everyone can figure it out if you so choose, if you have the desire and passion and you stick to releasing the fear and doubt, you follow the storyline, you make it up, so to speak, and you follow that and you keep creating from there. Beautiful things start to happen with your intuition. And that's when you can actually receive real downloads, funny enough.
Absolutely. And also I feel like sometimes you can start with, for example, oracle cards for a little bit of support, for some kind of symbol that you can wrap your intuitive mind around.
Yeah.
You know, because like for me, as I started, I was still doubting myself in like a few years ago, and my bestie was just make it up, just see this card, see what it brings up for you specifically, and just make it up and just say it without attachment if it's going to be correct or not correct.
Yes.
And when I started to do it for friends, they were like, oh my God, this is so on point. Like, this is exactly what I'm struggling with right now, or this is exactly what I need to hear, or whatever, or had like some aha moments. I was like, oh my God, maybe I actually can do it. Maybe
Yes.
maybe it's not like I can just make it up. Because also I feel like the ideas that we get when we make it up come from somewhere too.
They
right?
do.
They come for a
do.
reason. It's not like you just make up some like random shit that doesn't make any sense with irrelevance to anything. It's like you're making it up based on some experiences, based on some information that you already
Yes.
have. So anytime you
Yes.
make it up, it might as well like hit someone really hard. And you can just start with friends and family, and then you don't have this pressure on yourself that you have to be perfect at it already. You can just start with friends and family and build your psychic muscle, I feel.
Yes. That's exactly what I tell like the psychic mediums that I train. Start with people that you know. Get referrals from friends. Start with family. Start practicing on the people that you know. You'd be surprised how receptive people are, and you'd be surprised how much information you can tap into. And it gives you that chance in a safer space to overcome the doubts, the fears, and just get out of your way. Like there's a day in the psychic mediumship course where I do something called psychic speed dating, where I bring people into my course who the psychic mediums need to read for. And I put them in different rooms in the Zoom call, and they get a rotation. They get somebody new every 10 to 15 minutes. This way you're detached. You don't have time to think, oh my God, did I give that person all the information they need? Because then the next person is sitting right in front of you. And when you just go and you just do it and you're just exercising that muscle, that psychic muscle, as you called it, so perfectly, it's going to develop. It's going to strengthen very quickly. So you're completely on point.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've been into this psychic stuff for a while, and I've been struggling with it myself. So I know exactly how it feels to not trust your intuition, to have some doubts, to be like, oh, is this symbol that I'm seeing actually on point? And it's like, this thought is exactly what gets you away from your intuition, because you're going on a mental level rather than being still in the spiritual level, right? And we want to receive from spiritual level. And also, I love what you said about the same highway, our imagination and our intuition, our soul speaks to us through imagination, because I feel like every time we are creating something, we're actually creating from the soul. And when we can imagine something, it's actually our soul imagining. So anytime we are imagining, we are tapping into our soul's potential, not our mental body, not our emotional body, but our creative force, our higher self. I think even Bashar was saying, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bashar, many people
I am.
Yeah, so even Bashar was saying something like, your higher self conceives, and then your physical brain, physical mind perceives, and physical brain receives, or something like that. I don't remember if this was, I think there was a triangle like that. So the point is, like, your higher self is the one creating. So when you can, let's say, make your visualization abilities sharper, your imagination sharper, then it's easier for your higher self to convey messages, because it's way clearer for you and way sharper for you. And even on some plant medicine experiences that I've done, sometimes I received information as if I close my eyes and I imagined something, like this is how the visions came to me. But sometimes it would come in a different way. Like I would close my eyes and literally something would show up in, like, with eyes closed, like in front of me, not in my mind's eye, but like in front of me. Or sometimes even with eyes open, something would show up in front of me. So I feel like there are different ways of how the soul can speak to us, or our divine self can speak to us. But if we can open and strengthen the muscle and open to all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of visions, all kinds of sounds, then we just expand our potential and we can learn more and more.
Oh, yes. And I have those kinds of visions all the time. Like you said, eyes open, eyes closed, like in broad daylight. And sometimes you hear them. Sometimes you just get that feeling and that rush in your body. Some people will taste things. Like I've tasted stuff before from spirits that come around me. It's very interesting. Smell things, right? It's like the clairsentience that happen when you're in that open space and practicing that creativity and that intuition. Like have fun. Like think about the child, right? This is why the inner child, it goes back to the inner child. Does the inner child sit around like, oh, well, I don't know what to play or how to play. What if I don't do it right? They just grab their shit and go. They just grab their toys. They'll bang stuff around. They'll be annoying. They don't care. That's the level of like, that's why I say grit. Like really grit that we have to build is really just going back to the child and not caring. We got to not care.
Yeah, and it's so hard for so many people, right, to just be careless, because I feel like if you say I don't care, people have a negative association with it, and then this doesn't allow us to actually be free and to not care, but in like a cute way, in like a free
Yes.
way, right? Because
Yes.
it's all about the mind and it's all about how we feel, really. And also feelings, I feel like, are messages from the soul as well.
Yeah,
Feelings
they
are
are.
our guidance system as well. So when we can
They
tap
are.
into our emotions better, and as you said, for example, through trauma work, when we can get more awareness around how we feel and really like be conscious and sensitive to every feeling that we get in our body, that also expands our intuitive ability, because then we can receive messages through kinesthetic, let's say, sparks or whatever
Yes.
we can call it.
Yes, I do a process, again, another certification. It's called psychic somatics. Somatic means of the body. So psychic somatics means psychics of the body, right? Your body and your emotions. It's your natural psychic like insert. That means everybody is psychic at all times. You just have to learn to tune into the wisdom of the body and tap into the emotions of how the body is feeling to literally unlock anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. And this course is for beginners, advanced people. It doesn't matter where you are in your psychic journey. It is literally for everyone. I've seen, people go out and use this in their professional chiropractic business. I've seen people who are musicians use this in their work. I've seen people who are like directors, screenwrights, playwrights use psychic somatics because you can tap into anything. You can walk your life purpose and see what that is. You can walk that character that you're writing a theatrical skit for. You can walk your next steps. You can walk the pain in your body. You can walk organs. You can walk your relationships. You can tap into anything and understand what your soul needs you to click into place and understand, to then evolve into who you really need to become. And it's simple and it's subtle. Like, these things are not complex, guys. Our body wants to show us all the things. It wants to give us the map, and we don't pay attention. We don't want to pay attention to the map because we don't want to sit with the discomfort oftentimes. But with psychic somatics, I offer people the loving space to be able to express the things in the body that have been unexpressed for a very long time. And when you do it with the body and even like act it out, even like exaggerate it, right? Whatever that feeling is, it unlocks a powerful key. And then you have an answer behind that full expression of that thing that has been suppressed. It might be suppressed grief, rage, pain, sadness, trauma, whatever the suppressed emotion is. And people will often think, oh, well, I don't have suppressed emotions. If you're listening to this and you don't think you have suppressed emotions, if you don't think you have suppressed emotions, you have more than the rest of us. I always tell people that, because we all have suppressed emotions. It's like the human experience right now. And we don't know what we're carrying until we put it down. And it's not until it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was there. And then you have this huge breakthrough that, oh my God, what else do I not know is there? And it's like so much. And when you give yourself the space and time to let the body speak, the body knows everything. Your body, this is how, like, people don't understand how magical and how deep this goes. When you learn to train your mind to get out of the way, your body, your vessel, is connected to source energy and is connected to nature. Your body will get you the things that you want naturally if you get rid of your trauma. Your body will know how to find you love. Your body will know what's right for it to eat. Your body will take you to your dreams. Your body will lead the way. This is a divine vessel. And we forget. We just wake up every day and we're like, just stumbling around. We were not taught how magical everything is that we have access to. It's profound.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all that. I can feel your passion when you're talking about it. It's really great to experience. And I totally agree with you. I mean, I've been working with trauma and emotions, and I've been a person who was really stuck in my mind, and I could not
Yeah.
even reach the depth of the emotion. Let's say when I started all my trainings, around, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I could not even get to the trauma. Like, all the experiences, all the memories that I had that were coming up for me, I was intellectualizing them, and I thought that I'm feeling it, but I actually was just working with my
Yeah.
intellect. And it took me
Yeah.
time to actually really feel safe in my nervous system to be able to take the amount of the emotion that I feel, because also I'm a deeply emotional person, I discovered, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
only know it now because I'm a Scorpio and I was suppressing the shit out of it for most of my life.
Oh.
But you know, like
Mhm.
with practice, now I cannot imagine my life without feeling into my body and without the awareness of what's going on and where this pattern comes from, and diving deep into my emotions, because I feel like
Yeah.
my life is so much more upgraded every time I go through every experience that is emotional, every time I have a conflict with someone or something shit happens or whatever, and I go
Yes.
through the experience and release all the emotion and emotional charge behind it. I feel better and better and better. I feel like my life is just upgrading. But I know it could be let's say a struggle for some people. That's why we need to start with small steps and maybe take a
Yes.
moment every single day to sit in silence and say, okay, how do I feel right now? And then just build this muscle again. As we are talking about building different muscles, build the muscle of emotional sensitivity and emotional intelligence as well, for yourself. And you can do it step by step. Don't have to do it straight away. Like it took me a while, like maybe a year, to be able to allow my body to really go into the biggest trauma of my life, have full on panic attack and feeling safe while doing it. All right.
Yeah.
It took me a year to get there. But now that I am able to hold it, it's like, wow, it's so much better when I do.
Yes. Yes. And that's so powerful when you get to a place where you're like, anything that comes up, I know it's supposed to, and I'm unafraid. Whether it's a relationship conflict, dealing with that trauma that is so painful and so dark that you don't want to tell anybody, but you finally get to a place where you're like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't live hiding. I can't live suppressing. When you get there, you're so powerful. You are so courageous, and life is going to open up for you in those moments. And that's like what I really want to encourage people to understand. Life gets so much better when you can do that, when you can show courage. And it's not the kind of courage that you think, right? Being able to go and stand up to, I don't know, a bad person. It's more about you being able to face yourself. That's it. That's the most courageous thing you can do.
Beautiful. And on this note, we'll finish with this cherry on the cake that you just said. But I have one last little question to you. Where could
Yes.
people find you if they want to know more about your courses, the content that you're creating, and your online presence?
Yes, you can find my courses and different things that I do at CandiceRebollo.com, CandiceRebollo. And you can also find me on Instagram at Candice Rebollo as well. So, and I also have a podcast called Mediumship Muse, where I talk about like a lot of the darkness that I've faced and a lot of transmutation that I've done in my lifetime. So you can find me at Mediumship Muse podcast on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, Podbean. I'm pretty much everywhere, and I'm just getting started with the podcast, so that you can find me there too. I'll share with your audience a complimentary consultation for anyone who's interested in it, where you can get like a free, 30-minute reading with me. We see what's going on. We see what's blocking you from where you want to be. And I map out a specific plan for you and how you can best align with your highest path. So I'll leave that link. I'll leave it with you. I don't know if you'll put any description, links
Yes.
in the show notes or anything, but I'll leave that with you and your people as a gift. And yeah, come find me on Instagram. Like, let me know how this episode was for you. And I love talking. I love sharing with people. I love storytelling. I love, just helping people upgrade. It's part of my life mission. And thank you so much. This was so fun, Karolina. Thank you for your platform.
It is so fun for me as well. And I could talk for even longer, but unfortunately,
Me
we don't
too.
have time. But maybe we can do it another time and talk about
Yes.
even more expansive things. So yeah, thank you so
Yes.
much, Candice. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. I hope to be back again and probably have you on my podcast as well. So thank you so much.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, beautiful souls, for listening to us. It's been such a great conversation. I feel so charged up after talking to Candice. So check her out on her social media. She's amazing. And if you want to check me out, I'm at karolina.kuraj, Karolina with K and that dot Kuraj on Instagram. You can also find the podcast on Instagram at We Are SoulFam. So check it out if you want to stay updated. And if you would like to learn how to manifest your dreams into reality, please send me a message, because this is what I'm here for, to teach you how to live your life to the fullest and how to live your dream life, travel the world if you wish so, earn money doing what you love, and just feeling fulfilled on a daily basis. So if you're interested, let me know. You can contact me through Instagram or through an email, connect@soulfam.com. Thank you so much, my darlings, again for being with us, and I wish you a beautiful day.